Yo, what's up guys? This is BunnyMuffins. We are going to be going over how to counter Yasuo today. I've been hearing a lot of complaints about him, and frankly, they are warranted, but I don't think Yasuo is actually that strong, and I'm going to show you why. You'll notice that he's played a lot in any elo that isn't Challenger, but in Challenger he's rarely played. There's probably 0 to 1 Yasuo players every lobby, and maximum 2 of them. But yeah, Yasuo can 1v5 your entire team. It's very annoying. Sometimes there are multiple Yasuo players in your game, so if you're interested in how to counter him, keep on watching. If you're interested in learning about how to counter even more compositions, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon to be notified about my new videos. There are many ways to counter Yasuo. I'm going to give you guys what I think is the easiest ways, but oddly enough, not too many players know how to do it, and that's why Yasuo is rampant in any non-challenger lobby. If you've been reading my Meta Snapshot, you'll know that I've always been saying that Yasuo comps aren't that good in TFT. At most, I rank him at B rank. The only thing Yasuo is actually good for is making clickbait YouTube videos for popular players. Challenger lobbies, again, 0 to 1 Yasuo players. Every other rank has 2 to 3 Yasuo players in every lobby, and the reason for this is because Yasuo, frankly, isn't that strong. However, Yasuo is only bad if players know how to counter him, which is why he succeeds in non-challenger lobbies. When Azir got nerfed in patch 10.4, I had stated that Yasuo comps would die off. Luckily for everyone reading this, these people still have not given up on playing Yasuo. Again, this is likely due to the popularity of Yasuo in non-challenger games, and when you play Yasuo, you don't really need to think. He's fun to watch, and you can place pretty decently if you get the correct items. And let's get right into this. Let's say you have some sort of Shadow Inferno composition. How would you go about countering Yasuo? So first we gotta read Yasuo. Yasuo targets the enemy with the most items, stunning them, and doing several attacks depending on his level. That means you must be careful when stacking items on your carry units. Luckily, there are many ways around this. The first and easiest way to counter Yasuo is to build Thieves' Gloves on your carry. In this case, we have Kindred. So I know not every carry can utilize Thieves' Gloves, but the ones that do, it's a really good counter to Yasuo because you did not invest 6 item components into your main guy. So even if they die because they're targeted by Yasuo because they get 3 items from Thieves' Gloves, it's not a big deal. You didn't invest that much in it, and your other units can carry because they carry the other items. Alternatively, you could put the Thieves' Gloves on a secondary carry. Maybe in this case, something like Annie or maybe Malzahar. That way you could stack 2 really good items on Kindred instead. But again, I personally love using Thieves' Gloves on Kindred because she can utilize all sorts of items, and that's why I prefer it on her in this scenario. But if you're playing a different comp, go ahead and put it on a secondary carry and then stack your main carry with more optimal items. One thing to note, if you have 3 items on one unit and Thieves on another, so let's say we have Thieves on Annie and then we have Seraphs, we have Rapid Fire Cannon, and we have Hat on Kindred, there's a 50-50% chance that he targets either unit. So 50% of the time he'll target Annie and the others he'll target Kindred. So there's no guarantee of Yasuo targeting unless there's only one unit with the most items. Next up, we have my favorite way of countering Yasuo, which is stacking your tanks. So in this case, we have Sion, who's like the main tank item holder for Inferno Shadows, and some good items are something like Bramble Vest, Guardian Angel, maybe like a Locket, or Zephyr as well. And again, this is my favorite way of countering Yasuo because he does all the damage onto your tank line, which is what you want anyways. Let me know what your favorite way of countering Yasuo is in the comment section down below, in case you haven't already. When we have the 3 items on Sion, it makes Yasuo's abilities useless. If you keep the rest of your team at 2 items, Yasuo will target Sion until he dies, giving him time for your carries to kill the rest of his team. Next up, we have using hexes. So similar to stacking a tank, you can utilize the elemental hex to count as an extra item. So for example, if we only had 2 items on Sion, such as Guardian Angel and Locket, we could just place him on an elemental hex, preferably one in the front line. That way he'll count as 3 items because each elemental hex counts as an extra item. So Yasuo will still target Sion instead of your Kindred with maybe 2 items. You could do something similar with your backline fodder units, by putting 2 items on them as well, such as Malzahar, and putting them on the elemental hex. Since we are talking about the hexes, Yasuo is terrible on the cloud map. Despite being a cloud unit, the cloud map is actually Yasuo's worst map. While you can still abuse putting your tank on the frontline Cloud Hex, you can actually put your carry on a Cloud Hex as well. Cloud Hex gives a lot of dodge. I think it's around 30% right now, which causes Yasuo to miss many attacks on your carry, rendering him ineffective. So here I could put Kindred with 2 items on her on a Cloud Hex, and she'd be relatively safe. You could also play Cloud units to counter Yasuo by playing Cloud Lux or a combination of Kiana, Yasuo, or Janna. This synergy gives you 20% dodge at 2 Cloud units. The next counter I have is Guardian Angel. This one's even easier than some of the other ones because you could just build 2 good items on your Kindred or whoever your carry is, and then just throw a Guardian Angel on her. This way, when Yasuo ults the first time, yeah, he'll kill Kindred still, but when she respawns, she'll be able to get another damage rotation off. Hopefully that gives you enough time to either kill Yasuo or his teammates. Next up, we have healing debuffs. So optimal Yasuo builds include a lot of healing items such as Bloodthirster and Hand of Justice. Naturally, the best way to counter healing builds are with healing debuffs. Shadow luckily has a built-in healing debuff with Kindred's ability. So after she shoots her arrow out, she puts a 80% healing debuff on her target. So shadows have a built-in way to do it. If you aren't playing Kindred, you could build Morellonomicon, or you can build Red Buff. So Morellonomicon's good on anyone with an AoE or area of effect ability, such as Annie. She can drop her bear, which does a area of effect, and then every time he autos, he'll apply a red buff. Or he'll apply the healing debuff. Someone that's good with red buff, there isn't anyone good with red buff in Shadow Comp, but if you play something like a Sivir who triggers on hit effects, that champion's going to be really good with red buff. So just identify who in your composition can best hold either item to put a healing debuff onto Yasuo. Now, this last tip, it might surprise you a little bit. Remember in the beginning of the video where I mentioned that Azir nerfs would weaken Yasuo compositions? This is because Azir is actually the main carry in Yasuo compositions. If your opponents are not stacking Azir, they're playing Yasuo incorrectly. Since most Yasuo players are only concerned about positioning their Yasuo, it should be pretty easy to pick off their Azir with a Zephyr. If your opponents are pretty lazy, you could also just Zephyr Yasuo since he's still holding 3 items, but oftentimes I just try to Zephyr their Azir. So those are my 7 tips on how to counter Yasuo. I'll go over them again just to recap. And these are what I think are the easiest ways. There are many other ways to approach this, but first one is Thieves' Gloves. Second one is stacking a tank. Next one is abusing the elemental hexes because it gives an extra item slot. Playing on the cloud map, Guardian Angel on your carry, healing debuffs so he doesn't heal, and lastly, Zephyring. There are many other ways to counter Yasuo, such as splitting items on your units. For example, you can have 4 units with 2 items and utilize both cloud hexes as well. That way he has many different targets and you don't really care which one he hits. You could also use poison to delay his ultimate, and you could also utilize item components on your transition units as bait. For example, if you have an Ornn with a Bramble Vest, you can go ahead and put him on an elemental hex and then put like a random item component on your bench on him, such as like a Giant's Belt. That way he'll count as having 3 items still, and then your carries are safe for the rest of the game. And since you're selling Ornn anyways, most likely, that belt can turn into whatever item you want it to in the future. Lastly, you could also just ignore playing around Yasuo and prep your team against your other 6 opponents. For example, if you're playing a composition that really relies on one carry, such as Predators, and you want to stack double Ludens plus a defensive item on Kog'Maw, just go ahead and do it. It's going to be better against all the other 6 opponents. So you can just wait for the Yasuo players to get kicked out by other people. Thanks so much for watching. I have an early game guide that I've been promising for a while, but it's in post-production now, so definitely look out for that sometime in the near future. If you'd like to see me play, follow me on twitch.tv/BunnyMuffinsLOL to get notified of when I go live. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.